Okay, so this is the video that I'm making to go over the syllabus. This is my contact information here. So obviously I've already told you the best way to contact me is through my email. The join code for Google Classroom for period 3 is here. Now you already received an invitation. So I guess if the invitation doesn't work, try this, but you know, get in there as soon as you can. So this is only period 3. This here is period 8. Okay, so make sure you're joining the right one. Now, if you received an invitation, then you shouldn't have an issue. You got invited for whichever period you're in. But if you're using a code, just make sure that you're using the right one. Okay, so the required materials for the class, you need to have a 3-ring binder or a spiral notebook, whatever you prefer. I recommend the 3-ring binder, but that's just me. You need to have a pencil or pen every day and a box of colored pencils. So those will be used whenever you get a packet of diagrams at the beginning of each unit to color the different structures. The textbook, new this year, you will have the access through it online, okay? These are the topics that we're going to be going through this year. So we're going to start with biology and chemistry background, get into the anatomical and medical terminology, and then move to tissues and then each individual system. And remember, we're going to be doing dissections. So I'm saying it now. I don't want it to be a surprise whenever we get there. All right, behavior. It is basically just going to be the old pink slip system. So just be on your best behavior. I don't want to have to give out pink slips, but I will if I need to. Attendance is very important. So being in class when you're supposed to be in class is necessary, but online, you need to be in the Zoom meeting online whenever the period starts. I don't want to have to give you a tardy, but if you don't sign in at all, keep in mind that you will be considered absent. If you are tardy often, whether that's online or in person, 3 tardies will equal 3 conduct points. Now, if it's an issue coming from another class, like you have some crazy route that you have to make, we'll talk about it, all right? But just try to be there on time. Homework. Any sort of late work will still be accepted, but it is a 50% deduction, so you only receive half credit. But and I also I will take in late work all the way up until the unit exam. Okay, so whatever unit that work is in, I will accept it before that exam happens. In terms of taking a makeup exam, if you take a makeup exam, whatever the excuse is, then it will be a different version of the exam and you will not receive any curve. So assignments, going to be a lot of homework just because you're online. Lab reports will be an important part of assessing what you learned during labs. So your analysis of what we did, as well as making conclusions. There will be lab practicals that are kind of like just lab quizzes that we'll do during some of the units. Unit exams will be a combination of multiple choice and free answer questions. And we will use smaller quizzes in certain units to just, as a checkpoint. Midterm will be everything from the fall semester. The final will be everything from the whole year. It will be primarily from the second semester, but we will draw upon some of the older stuff that we did during the first semester. Okay, basically the really important stuff that we have been using all year. Lab. So in order to do any lab activities, which we are doing next week, I need to have a signed syllabus or a lab contract, or you will sit out until I get those things. So very important to get those to me as soon as you can, basically the day that you come back. You will always wear goggles, gloves, and an apron during every lab, unless I tell you that you don't need to, but be prepared to wear those things every day that we do a lab. Not just every day that we're in class, just whenever we're doing labs. Whenever we're doing a lab, roll up your long sleeves and tie back long hair. You'll always have a mask on regardless of lab or in class, but just keep in mind that when we are doing a lab, you have to maintain social distancing. So basically one person will be doing the lab while the other person records, and then you can switch halfway through, or if it makes more sense, you can do one lab and then your partner can do the next lab. Definitely no eating or drinking at really any time unless we bring in something for a celebration. Now the exception to that is with water, but even during the lab, you should not be drinking water. So if you need a drink of water, you need to leave the classroom. So that's going to involve taking your gloves off, washing your hands, and leaving the classroom to get a drink of water. At the end of every lab, you're expected to clean all the materials that you have used, and that includes sanitation now. And you need to sanitize your work area. So I have sprays and wipes. We'll make sure that the classroom is squeaky clean. And before you leave the classroom, you must wash your hands with soap and water after any lab. Okay, so any lab activity that you can do at home, I would deem it safe enough to be able to do it at home, but I ask that you always work with somebody else. Masks need to be worn at all times. It must cover your nose and chin. If I have to talk to you about not wearing your mask for whatever reason, that's going to be a strike. If I have to repeatedly tell you to put your mask over your nose, then that can constitute as a strike too. And when you build up to 3 strikes, then that's going to equal a pink slip worth 3 points. Accommodations will be made for anybody that has proper documentation, but if you need any sort of help, whether that's an accommodation or maybe tutoring, let me know and I can help. Cheating, regardless of whether it's one question or a whole assignment, you will get in trouble for that. Okay, so if it is maybe one or a couple questions, then you will not receive any sort of credit for that. And if it is the first time, then you will receive a pink slip worth 3 points. If it happens again, you will get a pink slip worth 10 points, or maybe it's a larger, example of cheating. Then you will get no credit for that either, for the entire assignment, plus that pink slip worth 10 points. Now, if it's the third time, then that is going to be the plagiarism one from the handbook. And hopefully by this point, you would have learned your lesson, but that would constitute 15 points and Saturday detention. So I hope it never gets here, but if it does, now you know what to expect. Okay, but if it is a really bad example of cheating, like a whole assignment, like a whole really big assignment, then I reserve the right to accelerate here to second or maybe even third. Okay, so the online components for the class is Google Classroom. That is where I will post a lot of communication as well as any assignments that you need to do at home. So pay attention to that. I will keep it very straightforward. So make sure you're always looking at Google Classroom basically every day. Grading, everything is weighted. Your homework and in-class stuff is 20%. Quizzes should be down here with exams. Okay, so any sort of like assessment like that is 40% of your grade, and then lab reports and larger projects are the final category, and that's 40% of your grade. Okay, and then the breakdown is just like for any other class, 40, 40, 20 for each quarter, and then the midterm or the final. And then your yearly grade will be 50% this, 50% that. All right, so if you have any questions or concerns, please contact me, email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So make sure that you have your syllabus and your lab contract filled out and turned in by your next day of class, okay, whenever you're in next. All right, so I hope that this helped, and I hope you have a nice day.